So, Ryan, a lot of people, that I'm sitting down talking to, brand new people, are asking me, Roger, what do I do in my first, 48, 72 hours? So, what's some of the things that we might be able to tell them that would be effective for building their business?
Well, I think one of the first things, Roger, that people need to make sure they do is write themselves a why letter, because they're going to run into frustrations. They need to be clear on why they said yes. I mean, sometimes they have an idea of what they'd like to have better about their life when they first kind of make that decision to enroll. Yeah. But writing themselves a well thought out why letter on what they're willing to fight for, what they're willing to stay committed to. Who are they building this business for? Do they have a wife? Do they have kids? Do they have college that they want to pay for their kids? Do they have a daughter getting married? Do they, I think really people spending some time and knowing what's super important to them, what makes them tick, what makes them go,
Ryan, a lot of times I've heard this said that the why is so much more important than the how-to.
Yes.
We can teach somebody the how-tos if they know why they're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard it said that a big enough why will overcome any how.
Yeah. So they built their why letter. They've got that. They've communicated it, with their support team. So that way their support team knows how to help them and why they're helping them. That's why I always like the why letter. So when we have the ups and the downs in the business that we all have, that I know how to help you based on your why. So I'm doing it for you specifically instead of my why.
Right.
And I not help you, but let's talk about okay, so you got your why letter, we've communicated with a support team, but now what's the first step? What do I do? What does it look like? What does my first 24 hours look like?
Well, so the next thing you need to do after you build that why is you need to work on a list. You need to build a list.
Okay.
And a great place to start is your cell phone. You probably have 50, 100, maybe 200 or more names, the average person in their cell phone. And so what's important is, because we see this a lot, where people think leaving those names inside their cell phone is a list. That's not a list, right? We have to write that list. And then I always like to encourage people to categorize the people on their list. And there's a difference between prejudging and categorizing. We want everyone on your list. Now, once they're on the list, then we want to think about what are some attributes about those people. Are they already entrepreneurial? Are they business-minded? Are they ambitious? Are they influential? Are they very wellness-minded? Do they care about, all natural products? And so I think building a list and categorizing that list are two of the key things after they write their why.
I always like to, if I'm working with you, Ryan, I always like to get your list after you do that. So that way that when we're communicating with your prospects, I'll have their name, I'll have their information, and there perhaps may be a time when you say, hey, call Bob. And I'll just be able to go right down and find Bob's number. I won't have to ask you for it. It'll be right there. So that's always a good thing.
That's good. That's really, really good. And I think then once the list is built, you just hit the nail on the head, Roger. Really, where the activity, we have what we call income-producing activities in this business. The first income-producing activity really is starting to contact people, right? We need to contact the people on that list. And so something you and I have talked a lot about is establishing an activity standard based on people's goals, right? If I tell you I want to make $100,000 a year by the end of my first year, but yet I'm only going to contact one person a week, that's probably not going to get it done.
Doesn't match
right?
up.
Right. So I think establishing an activity standard for contacting the people on each person's list.
Okay, so it's important to know that a lot of people, when they get started in a business like this, if they haven't had any experience at it, they may not know what to say. So, I always like to tell people, hey, don't worry about it. Make your list. Don't prejudge people. And we're going to strategize exactly, who they are and how we're going to approach them. Because there's always ways that we're going to approach them. We're going to point them in a direction of a call or a in-home gathering, or we're going to do a three-way phone call, or perhaps a one-on-one type thing. So don't worry about that, more than just get the list down, get it to me so we can look at it together, and we're truly in business together. So I want to show you, I want to help you, and I want to maybe even make some of those calls for you, and I'll show you exactly how to do that when we sit down and we make a little strategy.
That's a great thought, Roger. And I think another key part about I love what you said about getting their list, because I think another thing that we need to do is when we take people's list and their goals, the other thing that has to line up with those is their initial order. This is a business of sharing the products, right? We don't sell the products, we share the products. And if someone has a big ambition, a big goal, and a big list, and only a couple of power strips, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another key thing about getting a look at their list, is helping to make sure that they placed the accurate, appropriate initial order that's going to match up with their goals and their list.
You know, I think it's really important too to let people know, you talk about income producing activities. And so, you know, although we want you to be familiar with the videos and how to get to the website and how to answer a lot of questions, what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to spend your time that you have devoted for your FGX Express business straightening your desk, you know,
right.
finding, you know, getting all your pencils just right on your desk, because that's not income producing activity.
That's right.
What I call your non-productive time, like you can't sleep at night, go to the computer, watch 4 or 5 videos. That, you know, that'll help you get engaged in the knowledge process.
Yes.
But we've all heard in life, OJT, right? On-the-job training. And so on-the-job training is working with the person that has an interest in your business and that's willing to sew into you and say, hey, you know, I don't know everything I'm doing. Could you help me?
Yep. That's exactly how I learned the business, Roger. I know that's how most of us do, is that if the person you're working with is not in your hometown, lots of 3-way calls. If the person you're working with happens to be within close proximity, getting your prospects in front of them. And like you said, OJT, watching your upline do the presentation with you is the best way to learn, because you get to earn while you learn. And then that leads us to the next one, right? So if we're contacting people, follow up. We hear this all the time. The fortune is in the follow up. And I think this one is really deceptive, because we think that somehow if we went and we made sure that somebody saw the presentation, whether it was a 3-way call or at a home gathering or whatever it was, we expect that just because we cast the line out there, the fish is going to come and jump in the boat. And we still have to turn that reel, which is the follow-up, is really making sure once people saw the presentation that we're reaching back out to them, telling them how to get started, asking them to get started, asking them to join our team, right? I think a lot of times part of that follow-up we don't understand is we need to make the ask. People aren't going to ask us to get in our business. So when we follow up, we need to be straight up with them and ask them, we would like you to join our team.
Right.
Are you ready to join our team?
You know, and I think a lot of times that's where your support team, to have them on that call, on that follow-up call, say, hey, listen, I want to do a little follow-up with you, and I've got my friend Ryan on the line. And because I figured you might have some questions, and he's a great guy, he knows how to answer some questions you may have. I want to introduce him to you anyway. So that brings in one of the most important elements of ever building this business, and that's that support, doing it with what we call a bro, you know, doing it with somebody that has an interest and loves you and is willing to help you, so you get them involved and engaged in you. When 2 people are running for the same thing, Ryan, you know that you can accomplish a lot more, especially if I know why I'm helping you, and that's why that why is so important. But we're engaged now in that prospect, and it's like a 2-on-1 right on the phone, and it's leading all the way down to the ask, because maybe I'm brand new, I'm weak at the ask, but you're a little more mature in the business, so all of a sudden, you know, you are willing to ask, and asking for the sale is so important.
One of the things I really love to do with people that are super ambitious, Roger, we talk about first 72 hours, is so I'm going to, whether we can do it face-to-face like this or whether we're going to do it on the phone, one of the things I love to do is get with somebody who's gotten into the business with a purpose of getting some kind of financial outcome. They're in this to do the business, not just be a product user. And one of the first things I like to do when I get with them is have them reach out to 10 people, the 10 sharpest people they know right off the bat. Send them a text, and then maybe we start working on your why. But before we even start working on your why, you've just sent out 10 quick text messages to maybe 10 of the sharpest people you know, and it might sound something like this: Rob, I've got something important I need to talk to you. When can we get on the phone? Hopefully ASAP. Just something like that. Now, if I'm with you and your buddy Rob responds back to that text, we can get on the phone with your sharpest prospects right then and there. You might only be in the business, Roger, not even an hour. We could potentially get you your first 2 people while we're being productive. We're still working on your why. We're going to still complete the rest of your list. But right when you enroll, I love to have people, if they're ambitious, if they've got a big goal, I love to have them reach out to the 10 sharpest people they know, send a quick short text, ask if that person is available to get on a quick phone call, and then we can do it together.
Yeah. So somebody brand new, sometimes in their, shyness, or maybe they just don't have, the ability to kind of reach out to their sharpest people, and so they tend to reach out to the people they may have influence over instead of somebody influential.
Yes.
Right? So it reminds me, though, of building a Super Bowl team. If I called you up and said, Ryan, it's your turn to build a Super Bowl team, you wouldn't go to those people. You'd pick the sharpest people that you knew that could quarterback and run the ball, that could catch the ball, that could, coach. And you reach out to the sharpest of the sharp you knew to build a Super Bowl caliber team. And if you were responsible for that, well, here we're responsible for building a Super Bowl team for our families.
Yep.
And to be able to score a touchdown or a home run for our own families. And why wouldn't we do that? Doesn't make any sense to go to the people we have influence over versus people that have influence.
Absolutely. I know another thing I really love to do when we're launching new people, Roger, is I want to get them connected to our support team. You talk about a Super Bowl team. We are part of a Super Bowl team in this industry. And so when someone gets on board, and maybe if they're ambitious and they've already had some successes in other areas of their life, which is exactly who we're looking for, one of the things they might be able to do, because they've got influence with other people, is get a few enrollments right out of the gate. What I've found to be critically valuable is to take those newest people and as quickly as possible do that three-way call thing. Reach out to some of the key people on our upline that we can now get these new people connected to multiple people in our line of support. So they're not just relying on you. They're not just relying on me. That's what creates the leverage for each and every one of us, is having several different people that they're aware of to be able to connect with and get to know and have access to, which is one of the great things about this team, is everybody's so accessible.
Yeah.